Hi, everybody. I am Matthew Albrecht. I'm the chair of the board of the Peace Alliance, and I've been involved with this organization for over 20 years. And wanted to do this Facebook Live today to talk about the disturbing events of the world today, in particular, what the United States is up to in Venezuela, and now it looks like a lot of the Western Hemisphere. So we're going to dive into that, and we're going to talk about some actions that we can take related to it. Um, we just had the military invasion of Venezuela. They're now talking about Colombia, Cuba, Greenland. This is mind-boggling and so disturbing, and they've been speaking to this for many months now, for this past year, really. And a lot of us thought it was more bluster, but it's clear that they have an agenda um, that is quite disturbing. And anyway, we're gonna dive into that. This was definitely an act of war. It's an occupation. There's no clear end game. We've certainly crossed a line, and what we need to really dig into as people who believe in and who work for peace, what is it that we can do, and what is it that we can say? And so we'll go over some different things. There is no war that can be declared in the Constitution without Congress, and it's been bypassed right now. And we'll see how that what happens there, and that's where we can step in and put pressure on Congress. Occupation of another nation is not peace. History really matters. We've seen this kind of thing done before in recent history in Iraq and Afghanistan. We've seen it done in Central America and the Caribbean many times, to ill effect, to say the least. We've rarely had good outcomes when we've gone in and unilaterally tried to shift patterns in different nations. Certainly, Maduro was a very um, disturbed individual who did pretty horrific things to his country and to people within his country. This isn't a man to be admired and by any stretch of the imagination. But that's true of many dictators around the world. And so, where do we draw a line, and how do we draw a line? Um, and does it work? It hasn't very often in history. So right now we're looking at basically this idea of the United States in particular dominating the Western Hemisphere through power without conscience. And what we're here to do is to talk about how do we choose wisdom, and how do we choose paths forward that really work. That's the Peace Alliance's mission, and that's what we advocate for, and that's what we're promoting. So we'll talk about all of that. I want to start just reading a New York Times quote that I thought was important for just overall context. It was short. The White House has framed the Maduro operation as part of an updated Monroe Doctrine, or as President Trump describes it, the Donroe Doctrine, which would be a globe carved into spheres of influence, with the United States dominating the Western Hemisphere, and apparently China asserting primacy across the Asia Pacific. And where might makes right, regardless of shared rules, could benefit Beijing in a number of ways. This is such a chilling idea uh, that we can go in and start dominating, and not expect, for example, China to do this as well in Taiwan, for example, which is very tenuous, or Russia with Ukraine. How do we make the case? And they're already, in fact, quoting President Trump as they start to ponder ratcheting up these actions in their own hemispheres. So this is a disturbing, disturbing trend. It's lawless. There is no game plan that seems pretty obvious. They have desires. I don't think they have any game plan. and they want to keep expanding it. There's lots of reasons that folks are talking about why this is happening, and those are important things to consider. And I'll give some good resources at the end of this conversation that might be helpful to look at. But we want to talk about. I think a lot of people probably watching this have been paying at least somewhat of attention. So I want to really dig into what it is that we're standing for, and how we can make a difference in hoping and helping to turn this around potentially. Uh, and really, the number one way is to get in touch with our members of Congress, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, or independents. Each of them have an important role to play. Democrats are standing up already more forcefully against this, and we need them to continue to feel the heat to do so. If you live in a district with Republicans, it's extra important that you reach out to them and get in touch with them and let them know that they have a role to play that's important. And so I want to share a little bit about what we're saying through our action efforts. And there's two main ways that we can do this, at least right now. One is to call them, and I'm going to give you information on how to get in touch with them, and then write them letters. We can do that through our website very easily, and that's an effective way to do it. We have a tool on our website at Peace Alliance. I'll just read off the link right now: peacealliance.salsalabs.org/Venezuela war. So peacealliance.salsalabs, that's SALSALABS.org/Venezuela war, all one word. I would put the link in the show notes, but Facebook seems to deprioritize these things being seen when you have links that take you off their platform. So hopefully you can go and either check your emails if you're in our network, and we have the links in the emails we've been sending out the last few days, or pause and write down that web address, please. You can also call your members of Congress. I'm just going to give you that number now, and then I'll read you a little bit about what you can say. The call number is, which is the U.S. Capitol Switchboard, is area code 202-224-3121. That's 202-224-3121. And you can call. All you need is your zip code. If you don't know the names of your elected officials, you can give them that information, and then you can they'll quickly connect you with your members of Congress. And it's best to call all three of them, your two senators and your member of the House of Representatives. They're all important. So here's what we're saying. And this is this is a sample of the letter that we're sending, that you can craft and send to members of Congress. This pattern suggests a broader strategy of unilateral action and dominance that bypasses Congress's constitutional authority over war powers and risks entangling the United States in multiple destabilizing conflicts. History has shown that such actions taken without clear authorization, legal grounding, or defined objectives often lead to prolonged violence, regional instability, and global backlash. Congress has both the authority and the responsibility to act. So we urge you to demand immediate briefings and transparency from the administration. Hold public and closed hearings on the legal basis and strategic intent of these actions. Reassert Congress's exclusive authority over declarations of war and military escalation. Oppose any unauthorized use of force or open-ended commitments. The American people deserve accountability, restraint, and leadership rooted in constitutional and international law, not a return to sphere of influence politics that history has repeatedly shown to fail. So what we're talking about is Congress's role. They have control of war powers. The Constitution dictates it. In the case of what just happened, there was no authorization. And now the oversight is missing. This is Congress's job. And we've been here before. Again, we said Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Central America. History is screaming at us to pay attention. These types of interventions rarely work. They end up tying up tremendous amounts of resources, cause huge life loss, um, and often put in worse systems than when we entered in the first place. So, as the Peace Alliance, as peace builders, we're looking at like what makes a difference and what has influence. This is uh, the exact opposite of that. It just history has shown over and over and over that this kind of thing doesn't work. And now, what's especially disturbing with this kind of Monroe or Donroe, whatever he wants to call it, doctrine revival, you have this kind of sphere of influence language where we're talking about hemispheric control. The United States wants to dominate this Western hemisphere to our advantage. And the way they're defining it, it's not about spreading democracy or high-minded values. It's about controlling resources, about controlling oil, about controlling influence. Um, this definitely is not leadership, it's control. It's a domination mindset, which is what we have stood against throughout modern history. From World War I and beyond, we have been this beacon of hope and trying to bring the world together. And they are so clearly trying to divide it up and separate it out. This is a recipe for a kind of instability that we haven't seen since before the beginning of World War I, which was devastating and brutal. And, they're trying to make the case of drugs and getting oil. We know that Venezuela is not a particularly strong um, uh, contributor to our drug crisis in the United States. They do allow a lot of cocaine through. That's the main drug that comes through. But the things that are really killing people, like fentanyl, et cetera, have nothing to do with them. This is all a ruse to, they make a case on one front of, oh, it's about drugs, it's about corruption, democracy. But it's very lighthearted when in reality they're talking a lot about resources and domination. So it's a very oppressive idea of how we're moving forward. Um, you know, I think that's probably enough. Let me see if anybody's commenting. Probably not yet. I just wanted to share this because I think it's so important that we stand up for what is right and what is just and what has deep values and centeredness in peace building, and who are we and how do we want to be as a nation and world. We have led that charge for so long, very messily at times, in fact, in many bloody ways, obviously. But can't we learn from that? Can't we shift towards more sustainable, uh, uh, healing-oriented approaches that can help bring the world together? Those are the things we need to be investing in and standing for. And as people who are in this movement of peace building and as a part of the Peace Alliance Network and many others, what is it that we can do in this moment to help make a difference? In the coming weeks, I'm sure there'll be a lot of things we can participate in, including more protests where we can go make our voices heard on the streets. But it's also incredibly important that we make our voices heard with our leadership in the halls of power. These are folks who are swayable. We vote for them. It may feel futile at times, especially given the walls we're up against. But the only way to move the bar is to speak out. That is the primary power we have as citizens right now. Certainly to vote later on in the year, but right now we have to speak out and stand up. And again, there's several ways you can do that right now. We have them pretty easily laid out on our website. You can go to peacealliance.salsalabs.org/Venezuela war and you can write a letter to your House of Representative and your 2 senators, letting them know what you think. We have an easy sample letter for you to use. You can edit it as you choose, or you can send it as is. It will send to all 3 at once. And possibly even more importantly, call all 3 of them. at the U.S. Capitol switchboard. That phone number is 202 224 3121. 202 224 3121. They will hook you up directly with the offices. You'll have to call back each time for all three of your members. There's a sample script in the email that we sent out today to our whole network. Hopefully you received that. If you're not on our network, sign up. But the way I spoke earlier was pretty much, a good thing. Actually, why don't I read the sample script right now. It'll give you both a little more detail, and you can use something like this yourself and transcribe it if you need to. So you just call that Capitol switchboard number, 202 224 3121. They'll hook you up. They'll have an operator answers and said, "Hi, this is so-and-so at so-and-so's office. What can I help you with?" And you'll say, "Hi, my name is Matt. I'm a constituent from Oakland, California. I'm calling to urge the senator to demand immediate oversight and accountability for U.S. military and coercive actions abroad. What began in Venezuela now appears to be expanding, with threats involving Cuba, Colombia, and Greenland. This raises serious concerns about unchecked executive war powers. Congress must hold hearings, demand briefings, and reasserts its constitutional authority before this escalates further. Thank you. Please make sure that the senator hears my comments." And that's pretty much it. They'll say, "Thank you, I noted that, and we'll let the senator know." That's what's going to happen. And they do. They keep track of all this and give reports to the elected officials. And that takes, maybe 45 seconds, maybe a minute. And if you could do 3 of those, hopefully within business hours. Some offices have voicemail, some don't. And you can also call your local district offices. Those often do have voicemail if you're calling after hours. But these are important steps that we can take. The more they hear from people, the more pressure they feel, and the more they know that if people are really upset, they're not going to show up and vote for them. So they need that kind of, always want, but they need that kind of pressure, and they need that kind of vocalizations from their constituents. So please do step up in this moment. It's incredibly serious. It's incredibly concerning. There is a lot that, there's not a lot we can do, but these are important steps as citizens. This is a part of the role and responsibility of being a citizen in the United States of America. So please step up. It's concerning. I know there's so many things that are flying in our faces right now, but this is a big one. Thanks for listening. Post comments. We'll be on there looking and checking and responding. Share this with friends. Whatever we can do to help turn the tide, it's important. So thank you all. Appreciate it. Again, this is Matthew Albrecht. I am chair of the board of the Peace Alliance, and we're going to be on top of this in the coming weeks and months and maybe longer. Thanks so much, and take care. Peace.